Hey everybody, welcome back to Visual Novel Book Club. I'm your pal Slow Beef. With me, of course, my good friend Devious Vacuum.
What's up, gamers?
My good friend Aaron Runnan.
Hi everyone.
My good friend Polo Hoko.
Hey, yeah.
My good friend Jim.
Hey, everybody.
My good friend Turo. What the? Oh no, we lost somebody again.
Oh, no.
This loop.
You can't see it, but it's just a pile of goo.
Turbo was lost to the corruption. They must have broken the rules somehow.
Well, that's a shame. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, before we start, I have some stuff to talk about because a couple of us finished the game already. Not all of us, but some of us.
I didn't.
And as I usually do, immediately after finishing the game, I started reading articles and interviews, and I bought the book that the official book of the game that talks about all sort of things. So there are just a couple of interesting things that aren't spoilers that I want to point out. The first one is that I don't think this is mentioned anywhere in the game, but the book reveals that this game takes place in 2003.
Oh.
Which is interesting.
What?
I'm not sure if the tech fits.
Wait, when did Resident Evil 4 come out?
2000?
Roughly 2003,
Yeah.
actually. 2004, maybe.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay, so that bolsters the Leon Kennedy theory.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if the fact that he has a cell phone fits. But there were cell phones in 2003.
Oh, yeah. And they were pretty ubiquitous, especially in Japan.
But yeah, they weren't the smartphones yet, though. But yeah.
No, they're flip phones. And like, if you were 12, you probably didn't have one. But yeah, if you were like above the age, if you were a teenager, you definitely had a cell phone.
Yeah, the second thing I want to say, and I'm going to post an image to our chat, is that in all the interviews, the author of the game says the one thing he regrets is that there's no CG in the game for the pose the villagers take when they pray to Shinai. It's described a couple of times. So what they did, when the PlayStation 4 version of the game came out, they made that the cover art, and I just posted it in our chat.
Oh.
And it's interesting because it's kind of important to the pose becomes important later.
Do we want to describe it?
It's like they're begging.
Or they're doing that, it looks kind of like, when you do that intimidation knuckle crack where you have one hand completely closed over the other, but holding your hands like in front of your forehead while you're like kneeling down and praying forward.
Yeah.
It looks like they're begging for their lives.
Yeah.
It does, pleading, but with fist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so anyone who's listening, go look up the Japanese cover art for the PS4 version of the game, because the English one is just the usual, like the thing you see on the menu screen.
Yeah, this is actually really cool because it's like everyone in the little feast, but then in the background there's like spooky smoke stuff happening. There's like pointing fingers, and then there's like the wolves up above them.
Can I point out something completely unrelated for a moment? So we were talking about this. For whatever reason in our Discord, we're using video chat for the first time this season, just for the heck of it. And it defaults back to DVAC every time people stop talking. Just now, even when Oren was explaining that, every time he paused, just for like the briefest moment, her face would like fade back in really quick between it.
I'm doing it on purpose, Slow Beef. I've actually hacked your computer.
It's maddening. Yeah, I had to like get away from the five of us chat to look at that image, and
He can't stand it. He can't stand looking at a girl online. It's just...
I know, that's the thing. It's terrible.
Ninja told me it's cheating.
Exactly, yeah. And he knows how to be good at video games, so, he had a book. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, now we can get back to the actual reading.
Okay. Where were we? I think it's like, Haruaki's wolf,
Yeah. And Yudai Hashimoto, the photographer, is alive this time, and he is sort of taking on Haruaki's role in the previous loops, but he's better at it even than Haruaki. So Haruaki is a wolf. He's got Haru and Kaori as his two wolves, so completely unstable, useless wolves. Like everything is stacked against him.
We're going to find out how useless they are soon.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, everything is stacked against him except the fact that he can loop and correct all his mistakes.
Yeah, okay, there is that, right?
That's the only way that he could get through this, because everything is really...
I'll just save scum it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's another revelation coming for his assistants that is just non-existent. We're going to find out a new role during this chapter.
Right.
Yeah, so all of the things that Haruaki brought up in the other loops, what about the badger, or like all that's like all the discussion of the origin of the religion and stuff when they're in the dining hall, everybody brings that up without him. Like that comes up. Yudai talks about it. Other people ask about it. So like he's like, They do it all without me. Like he's like building up resentment against these people. Almost.
Now I have a long rant about the translation, my usual long rant about translation. So you probably noticed the extensive discussion of kanji in this explanation.
Oh
yeah. They just give the fuck up on this one.
Yeah.
My eyes just kind of went cross.
They pretty much explain some kanji wordplay, and they just show you the kanji and talk about them, expecting the English reader to know what they're talking about. And the thing that gets me, and this is kind of a spoiler, but not really because you can't do anything with it anyway, is that this is basically, the entire discussion is a huge clue about some deepest kanji wordplay that's going on in the game. And they give you like everything you need to know. If you know kanji, if you know in Japanese, they give you pretty much everything you need to know to figure it out yourself. So they tell you that at some point in the past, some places got their kanji changed. They give us as an example, the mountain was used to be called Sarunashi, which means monkeys and pearls, something like that. And then they change it to kanji that has the same reading but means something else. So that's one part of it, and the other part of it is where you can like take a kanji and get its separate parts and then change the order and you get another word. And there are a few other like keywords in this game that later we will find out pretty much have the exact same wordplay applied to them. And if you're a Japanese reader, at this point, if you're good at riddles and you take to heart everything that's told to you, you can definitely get this. You can figure some stuff out. And that's deliberate. That's definitely deliberate. And you just can't do it if you're reading the English version. That's part of the puzzle. You have no chance of figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, my question was kind of, was there anything else they could have done?
I don't know, but it's a part of the original, like, detective part of the story, the part where they give you enough hints so you can figure some stuff out yourself. That's just not there in English at all. And that kind of sucks.
Let me ask this for people who, like, not to be, like, whatever, like, I'm not trying to flex or anything, basically, but like, not knowing anything about kanji, like, is it at least clear what they're talking about?
The fact that the symbols are kind of combining,
Yeah, they're reordering them. But like, there's no English equivalent, because if you like reorder if you mess up the order of the letters to make like a word jumble, like there's not enough letters in Wolf Village to like make a thing, or like Wolf Mountain or whatever. But she talks about how like Shinai can be reconfigured into Okami.
Yeah, and Okami in this case means both great god and wolf, which is another wordplay that's going on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think you could do it in English with the same mechanism, because it would be too obvious, Yeah,
like, I don't know what the solution is. I just think that it kind of sucks that you don't get this in the translation.
Yeah, but like, because to do this in English, you need like Tom Marvolo Riddle turns into I Am Lord Voldemort, which like how you can do that like for everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of knew what they were talking about, except, like, I had to just take everything on faith, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going, like, oh, Wolf and God, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. Just like, yeah, all right, whatever, sure. You got it.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's the end result of this? That Shinai-sama and Ukami-sama basically are the same thing?
Yeah. Or that, everyone's like, oh!
The end result is that Shina is the Okami, and Okami can mean wolf, so Shina is the wolf. That's what they're trying to get at.
So this is not some neutral mountain god. The god is the wolf. The goddess clearly has a side in this.
But the people, I mean, it contradicts their religious beliefs, so they don't want to. They're like, no, that's not the case. Like, that's interesting, but whatever.
I just start screaming that no, Sheena is against the wolves. I mean, they're not the same.
You know what you could do? You could have like a homophone that's not immediately obvious and say, you know, actually this word used to be, and you do some kind of change to like, and it means like lupine or something, but it was spelled differently. So you go, oh, lupine as in like a wolf. So it's not immediately obvious. But then again, who cares? Anyway, so
our mountain god Al Upine.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that movie Angel. I'll spoil Angel Heart, where where Robert De Niro's character is named Louis Cypher, and you're like, oh. But when I was a kid, I thought that was really clever. Anyway, an interesting thing that the report that Mamiya brings up is she says that this name change was probably made to hide the faith because it was forbidden to practice, and she talks about like the Shinto becoming the major religion in Japan and like Buddhist practices being downplayed or something like that, or like she's like at this point like there were reasons, historical reasons to hide it. Yeah, she talks
about how like Christianity in Japan, it was forbidden at one point in history, and they hid it by pretending it was Buddhism, and they made Maria a Buddhist canon. Which is true. This is real history.
And then the kanji for Maria really... No, okay.
So that's important for us, looking at it from the outside as to like that this would be like a very common explanation to Japanese people if they were like, why did all this stuff change, or why the wordplay? Well, it's because it's telling us that it should, it's the same. Like it's not a big... ask. Like, it's not a big stretch that this wordplay was happening because of having to hide faiths in the past.
Yeah, she basically says that religion and gods are affected by politics. They're not just, they don't stand on their own.
Yeah.
So when leaders die, then maybe some gods that are deprecated and new gods take their place.
Yeah. And she even mentions, one of them mentions the song doesn't mention anything about the guardians, and it doesn't, or the wolves being like against each other. It just says these are the guardians. It doesn't say that anything about the story, the rest of the story. And she suggests that this is a game played by the two-faced god to pit people against each other, which upsets everyone.
Yeah.
And then they all eventually it's evening and they're gonna go back to sleep, and Takumi loudly announces that he hopes the wolves won't kill anyone tonight. And everyone like they really have like a moment of unity that they haven't had in the other routes, where like they all say goodbye to each other and like say like things to each other they've been holding back because each one of them might die tomorrow. Like, they take it a lot more seriously than they did in other loops.
And Hashimoto tells him to say this, like, hey, you could die tomorrow, so make your peace with people now.
Can you believe this is the same guy who, like, died because he had to take a piss?
I know, right?
Oh, is that what we decided, that why he died?
Well, that's not why we decided. That's why he died. He's like, I don't have a toilet in here. I better go out during the mist, you know?
Yeah.
No, I do like that this character that we went to great lengths to save turns into our greatest adversary and is able to unite everybody.
It's great.
I like how it's our greatest adversary, and he still died because he couldn't like hold it in for a bit while death was coming. But you know, whatever.
He's not perfect.
Well, it's because we suck so bad is how I like to look at it. Like, this is our Von Karma, like just some cameraman who's like, I know how to play games. You know, but whatever.
We really probably should have mentioned to him, like, hey, you know, you really want to hold it because you're going to fucking die if you don't. I don't think anyone said that to him.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
So Haruki is like, he like when he says goodnight to everybody, he like, you know, he keeps dwelling on the fact that Yudai is better than him at everything that he did in the previous loops. And so he like heads back and like goes to sleep, and then he's like, oh wait, I'm a wolf, and wakes back up.
See what I mean? He's like, I can't believe Hashimoto is like better than me. It's like, well, look at your fucking competition. It's mostly like old senile people and children.
Yeah.
Like, you've got really two people maybe tops to beat. Anyway, sorry.
So when he wakes up, he finds a wolf costume by his feet. So it's like a wolf mask, like the sort of the top half of a wolf skull kind of shaped mask, and then like hair that goes all the way back over. That's like straw or something.
It's made of straw, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are like Buddhist mantras in the little scrolls falling down from the mask.
It looks very decorative.
There's a whole outfit too. It's not just the mask. There's like a body part too. And we don't see it right away until we go outside.
He also finds a bucket with water and the ladle.
So he's like, okay, what am I supposed to do? He's like, oh, I'm cleansing myself. I'm pouring water. He pours water over his head, and he like peeks out. He's like looking out the door, like, am I supposed to go out there with those mystical beasts out in the fog, like just going out there? And Haru arrives to get him, and she somehow instinctively knows what to do. And she says, like, look, and she takes her bucket of water and she like throws water on the ground, and there's like something in the ground, I guess, that like moves away from it, like not just the wolves in the mist, but like
little creatures or something.
Yeah,
it feels like a lot of creatures around it, and they stay away from the water because of some reason.
Yeah. For some reason. And she's like, these are the bringers of corruption, and they stay away from the holy water or whatever. So they just put water around themselves on the ground as they walk around.
Also, I just want to say that they have this nice looking sprite for the character wearing the costume, and then they've got Haruraki, which is the same sprite, just smaller.
Oh yeah, for like Haraki and Haru, who have a height difference, there's just like the larger version and the smaller version of the same wolf sprite.
Don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Yeah.
Kawari is like a middle size.
Yeah.
Yeah, at one point there's all three of them on the screen.
Didn't even make two different angles or anything, so
he does also, at this point, he recalls the werewolf that he saw on the first night. And he thinks it's possible that might have been a costume. The same costume he's wearing now. Because didn't get a clear look because of the fog.
I mean, the CG says otherwise.
So that would mean that the CG was lying on purpose, because they don't look anything like that.
Yeah, because the CG is not the same.
Well, that can't happen.
They actually do look pretty similar. If you look, the head of the werewolf is clearly the mask.
But their eyes don't glow.
Yeah, the eyes do glow.
They're also not that muscular, yeah.
I mean, if you were to mistake that costume for a giant monster, you'd have to be some kind of idiot.
Well,
More likely than you think. In Yasumizu.
Okay, I'll defend Haruaki too. This could also be like his interpretation of what, like, you know what I mean, what he thinks he saw.
Well, then they need to put artist's interpretation down there at the bottom.
No, they don't. That's ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
That would be very funny.
That would be, yes.
what? Like if you were showing like a crime show, it's like artist rendering or something.
Dramatization may not have happened.
Dramatization, yeah.
Not the actual rapist.
The way the wolves appeared, when the three wolves, they gave him the instructions, like that, those are like way more obscured than the wolf that Haruaki sees in the very beginning. And like maybe that's more like what it was going for, where you can't really tell. But the glowing really gets me, because it's like they're always glowing, and they put these masks on, and the masks don't even fucking glow.
Glow in the dark paint does.
To be fair though, he's in the mist, remember? And it like fucks up your brain.
You say glow in the dark paint, Polo, like a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah. It could, maybe it's glow in the dark paint, and they can't see, but you'd be able to see it on the others' masks. I don't know. Maybe are they just? I don't know.
That's all. I'm just saying the mist fucks you up.
Maybe there's lights.
Maybe there's black lights. I don't know. But
There's acid in the food.
The glowing is what really annoyed me about this. I was like, how could you possibly misinterpret that? Anyway, it seems like, because those masks, the masks, they don't look like new. They look like, ancient and spooky and beat up. Like, they don't look like you would know, like the red would be so intense that it would appear to glow.
Yeah. And also there's the fact that he saw that werewolf on the first night, and that's before the werewolves actually start acting. That's the second night.
But also, we have to remember that there's a mystical god giving you this. So maybe it's like you put it on and then other people see you like that.
That's fair too, right? Who the hell knows what's going on with the mystical god stuff? I mean, you know.
Yeah. It is like, also, it was like weirdly disappointing that it was just like put on a weird costume and go kill people. Like,
well, what did you want? Did you want Haruaki to be like the actual creature and transform?
no. Actually, I wanted there to be no difference and everyone just perceives them as monsters, but they actually, you know, Silent Hill style, like they just look normal. They don't have to dress up or anything, but they appear as wolves. So we get to the dining hall to meet up with the girls.
Before that, Haru is very impressed with the flashlight, so he gives it to her.
Oh yeah, he has a like a flashlight he got at the convenience store, like a modern like nightstick type flashlight.
And Haru thinks it's so cool.
No comment.
And so he gives her one. Oh, I forgot. We're on the Haru route, so of course
I'd like to forget.
Time to make inroads with Haru.
It's so this route is weird. This is weird. It's a weird.
It's gross.
route.
I don't like it. This whole route is weird.
It's something the game really wants to happen, and it's just not happening for me. I'm sorry.
Have we established her age either before this? She's definitely a high school
She's
student.
in high school.
100%,
yeah.
and he is like 24, so.
And she's younger than Yasunaga, who is going to graduate soon. So
And who's younger than, Chiemi. So, like, Chiemi's like this undergrad.
Yeah, but how old is the mystical god inhabiting her head?
Oh, 1,000, so it's fine.
yeah.
My head canon, and she's 18. We don't have to discuss it any further. No, it's no. Okay, I know.
So I can tell you that she was born in 87, and this is 2003, which makes her.
Thanks. That's
16.
good.
16, and he's 24.
18. Perfect. No.
Well, I mean, this is what happens.
I mean, it also sort of plays into the fact that this is a route about slowly going insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get a choice. So we get there in the dining hall with the girls, and and Haruaki obviously doesn't want to kill anyone, right? And he's like also kind of curious about like, do I have to? Like, I don't feel like I need to do this. And we have two options to choose from: kill everyone or kill no one.
Well, he has this choice after he realized that Kaori is definitely going mad because she has to face killing her children. And she tries to say that she isn't, but she's clearly not okay with this. And Haru, on the other hand, is like trying to also act like she's cool with everything, but she's kind of like in a teenager way.
I do like that there's this resistance here.
Yeah.
There's three options. There's massacre, kill no one, and a locked choice, which we can't do.
So, first on the list is kill everyone. Sounds like a great idea. Haruaki basically is like, this is our job as the wolves, and like, are you willing to throw away your humanity for your faith? And they're like, of course. And then it ends with Kaori then being like, well, I can't, we can't do this. I can't kill everybody, so we have to kill ourselves. And so she stabs him, and she basically kills everyone. And in my notes I wrote, this is what I've been saying, which is like, what if all the wolves just killed themselves on the first day? So then he dies. So that doesn't work. So the second choice is to kill no one. And Haruki's like, look, we don't have to kill anyone. They said that, it's against the rules, but like, how do we know what's going to happen? Like, we're all dead anyway. I don't want to kill anybody. And if he says that, then Haru kills him with a sickle.
Immediately stabs him in the side. Just immediately. So, whoop.
And his dying thought is like, man, the wolves this time are just awful.
Yeah. I wrote that down too. I'm just like, oh no.
My teammates suck.
So with both of those, we get a key, and we use that to unlock the third option, which is trick them. And now we come into an episode of Psych, that plays out in here in the dining hall, where he's saying like, I'm a something, like, what does he say? He's like a spiritual guy of some kind, and he's like, I'm here.
He's like, he says that he has powers.
I'm the kind of person who just knows things.
Yeah, and I came here to save this village. I was sent here to investigate Kamifuji Yoshi, and everyone here is barely human. And he says that Shinai is weak right now because the four head families worship the four guardians instead of him or something. And he like proves himself because he like knows like where Kaori is originally from the other routes. And she's like, oh, and he sort of plays off of Kaori's worry about being a bad mother. He's like, you know, like, oh, you are a bad mother. You failed, like, see your sons, so now you have to kill them. And she agrees. And she's like, You're right. Let's kill them as quickly as possible.
I think we get some nice characterization in a way, because it does sort of play off of like her kind of like she has this sort of like, no, I'm a good mother, I'm a good parent, I'm a strong person and all that until they die kind of thing. But then she has like all this insecurity that she's hiding, which I'm like, you know, that's pretty good. I like that like kind of aspect to her. I don't know if they do much with it, but yeah, it's there.
He convinces her that killing him means saving them because they're not alive anyway.
Yeah, they've already surrendered to the corruption.
Yeah, she still can't really take it, so she says, okay, we will kill them, but let's kill them first, and then I will die too. I will kill myself, or I will give myself up, or whatever.
I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah.
And Haruaki doesn't really like that, but at least he thinks maybe he can use this in some way, which is where he starts actually becoming inhuman himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, you know, we know that Haru likes Yasunaga, so when he's like, well, let's go kill Yasunaga, she's like, all right, let's do it. Let's go kill him. And in my notes I wrote, please be protected by the spider. But it's not what happens.
Sort of protected, but
Well, so the weird thing is, so they go to the dorms where Yasunaga is, and the first thing they see is blood on the stairs, which never gets explained again. There's just blood there.
Oh no, she says, right?
But no, because when they go up to the room,
it's not explained now. It will be explained by the end of the game, but it's not explained right now.
Okay. So it's not explained in the moment, and they go up to Yasunaga's room, and in front of the room is Kiyomi, and she's got a gun and a mischievous smile, and she sees him and blows her own head off with the shotgun, sawed-off shotgun. Yeah.
At first, Haruaki says, "Okay, I lost this time. Next time, I'm going to deal with this." But then she just shoots herself instead.
Yeah, like he's convinced she's just waiting there to kill them, and nope, she sacrifices herself since she probably doesn't have a guardian and is able to, you know, just she gets one over on them because no one else has to die. She dies for everyone else.
Yeah. Before she dies, she tells him, "Don't become," and he can't hear the rest. He doesn't get the rest.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me about this is that there's all this blood on the stairs, and if she was firing that weapon, why didn't they hear it?
Why didn't the other people hear
like
it?
If they're so in my notes I wrote, Chiemi already killed someone. She's going around with a shotgun. How did they not hear it? Because there was blood all over the stairs. And so, like, for the blood all over the stairs, like, how'd the blood get on the stairs unless she was firing her weapon? And if she was, how would they not hear a shotgun going off?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Now I'm intrigued. I didn't catch that the first time. Why was the blood there?
Yeah. Well, apparently we'll find out soon.
I wouldn't say soon, but we will find out.
Yeah. Well, this protects anyone else from being killed, and so they all just are like, okay, I guess, and they go home. And they leave at some point in this, like, they leave her, but the weapon, like, disappears, and they don't know, like, they didn't take the weapon.
Yeah, they just leave her, like, the way they found her, like, with her head blown off, and that's it.
Yeah.
But what I didn't get is why they should have been able to still kill someone, because they didn't cause this. They're the wolves. They should be able to kill another person.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, that they know is that, so key to the decision before tonight, not to kill anyone, was that, hey, we're just going to see if the wolves do anything. If the wolves don't do anything, then we won't do anything. And so now they can be like, well, if she's found where she killed herself, technically we didn't do it, although someone did die, so we don't get the corruption. They are not, clearly the wolves are not completely convinced automatically that they have to kill someone immediately, and like the bloodlust isn't fully there, and they're hoping that maybe we don't die tomorrow.
So what did you think, people who don't know, what did you think she was trying to say that Haruaki didn't completely get?
I think she's looping as well, and she's trying to tell him not to give into his murderous feelings or his to play the game
a murderer
that way. Yeah, don't play along with the wolves. Figure out a different way of doing this.
Don't become a creeper. She's only 16.
Yeah, maybe. Then we get to talk again with the spirit that lives in Haru's brain, and which in my notes I started calling. What did I?
Did you give it a name?
Hold on. Yeah, later on in this reading, she talks about how she's kind of like the badger, and so I just started calling her the badger in my notes to differentiate her from Haru. So she starts talking to him and saying things about Shinai, and he has an argument. I wrote in my notes, he has an argument with the spirit possessing Haru about whether Shinai is real. Which is very funny. And she says there's three gods, that there's Shinai, one is a worthless god who's as good as dead, referring to herself presumably, and one is your enemy. And she says the Great Lord Shinai is a warped god made by smashing the three with a mallet and mixing them together. So what do you think this means?
What did I think at this moment, or what did I think later? Because later on in the chapter, I have different ideas. At this moment, I had no idea.
Maybe we'll talk about it at the end. I thought maybe they could be talking about the old man or something like that. Was he a disempowered god that was our enemy or something like that? That there's another god among us or something like that. It's
the old man who cried wolf, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. It gives him a lot of credit, in my opinion, but okay.
Yeah, too much credit. But it's just three different entities is three different villains is too confusing, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not necessarily all villains.
Yeah, they all.
She says that only one is Haraki's enemy.
Yeah. But I mean, I think Shinai is our enemy, and I think at this point, I'm not sure if the Badger is our friend or our enemy. Badger just seems to be along for the ride.
These gods are just jerks,
For
That's
sure.
the way I look at it. The gods are jerks. It's like that movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So they part ways, and they go to sleep and wake up the next morning. And when they wake up, the costumes are gone. The Great Lord Shinai takes care of all the cleanup and everything, and there's no evidence left behind. And he wakes up, and Chami's face keeps flashing through his mind, and the warning that she gave before she killed herself. And he goes over. Haruaki does his normal thing that he does in the morning, which is go over all the info, and he's like, "This is the wolf plan that we came up with, and how we were supposed to act." And their their strategy for the next day and stuff, and then he heads to the dining hall to meet up with everyone else. And in the dining hall, so Yudai has a photo of Chami's corpse that he is showing everyone, so not everybody has to go there in person, and her corpse has been all torn up from the corruption, like everybody else who dies outside.
Chewed up.
Yeah, and so it's a rule-breaking death, not a wolf death or whatever. But I guess the wolves have never killed someone and put them outside their house, so that we know of. So basically, this makes it, and the gun is gone. They didn't, the villagers did not find the gun, the murder weapon, and they they basically think that she died from the corruption. They don't know how she died. So they have because the corpse is so mutilated, they have no way of knowing that she shot herself. Well, Yudai figures some stuff out, but they'll, they don't immediately figure it out.
Right.
And so they're all looking at it. Right before they start eating, Nosato points out that the food could be poisoned and to like check for it, which again is like, is everybody looping? Has this happened enough times that they all just kind of have a memory of it?
And Haruaki even mentions that he's like, everyone seems sharper this run. Like they're already like 2 steps ahead of where they were before.
Yeah.
But is that just because Yudai's alive, though?
It might be.
I feel like just him being there is like giving everybody a stat boost.
Maybe. I still think that people are retaining their memories through they might not be consciously doing it, but I feel like the more the time goes on, the more likely that could happen, like the more loops that happen. Or maybe it's a coincidence that's making Haruaki paranoid, I don't know. Then Yudai, Hashimoto and Mamiya go on patrol. The reporters go on a patrol together, which gives them a chance to talk separately. A bunch of people like pair off and go talk separately. Takumi goes off with Yasunaga. Mochi goes off with Haru. And Haraki's like, did he plan this? Hashimoto, did he plan that this is this part of his plan? He's working against me? And he's so mad about this that he walks off a cliff and twists his ankle.
I forgot that happened, yeah.
Also, throughout the morning, Haru is really bad at acting. He keeps saying that she overdoes it.
Yeah.
Right. Haru's overdoing the acting, and then Oribe is saying things that she shouldn't know.
Yeah, it's the dumbest. It's like a comedy of errors from the Three Wolves. It's like one is tripping and falling in the mist. The other two are just like, oh, I'm certainly concerned about what happened today.
Yeah, the worst. This is they're the worst wolves. And so who's there to help him Haruaki when he twists his ankle? None other than Kanzo, which is very uncharacteristic of him. And he helps him up, and Haruaki doesn't know how to get out of this situation. He doesn't know what to say to Kanzo. So Kanzo says, like, who do you suspect? And Haruaki's like, what do I do? And so he says that he suspects Haru. And Kanzo's like, no, she's just acting weird because she has, she likes Yasunaga, basically. And, and so Haruaki is like,
Well, you get a choice. You're like, you can talk about Haru's love life, or you can wait to get keys 3 and 20, which we do not have.
Yeah.
Right.
And, so basically he, sows some discord by, implying that Yasunaga was seeing Chiemi, and that also he was cheating on her
with Haru.
So he's a 2-timer.
It's very implied though, because he's like, oh yeah, Chiemi told me she had a boyfriend, but he was cheating on her. But I can't be sure if she was telling the truth. She may have been lying. It's real Weasley stuff.
Yeah. So now Kanzo is mad at Yasunaga. I can't believe he believed him.
This is a very vulnerable Kanzo who seems to automatically suspect things are going on without being prompted very heavily.
And he's clearly detected that Haru is probably a wolf, and he's trying to figure out what to do about it because he wants to protect her.
Yeah.
And when he returns to the dining hall, Mako says that he did something bad and is being punished. That's why he hurt his leg. Mako's in a bad mood for some reason. And then they have lunch and then start the feast. So then they start talking about, how did Chiemi die? They're like, can you go outside at night if you're not a wolf? That doesn't make sense. How is she awake and outside at night if she wasn't a wolf? During this discussion, Haruaki also points out that bedtime is 8 p.m. and the wolves wake up at 10 p.m. So this is a very reasonable schedule for murder, not a high-impact murder schedule.
Yeah, give him a couple hours of sleep,
It's like murder in Florida where we eat at 4.
I was going to say the early bird special for murder.
That's this episode title also.
The early bird special for murder?
Yeah.
All right.
So Haruki and everyone else, they sort of come to the conclusion that she must have been outside the whole time, that she never went inside, and that was how she was able to be outside during that time.
Because her futon isn't even out. So, like, there's no effort in her room to even set up at all.
So as they're figuring this out, and Yasunaga is contributing to the theories, Kanzo argues with him and gets mad and doesn't like Yasunaga. So they argue for no reason, basically. Just and Haruki gives his correct theory that Chiemi committed suicide. And Yudai supports this theory because he noticed the blood patterns on the wall behind her, which would be caused by shooting yourself at point blank range.
I think that's bullshit. But yeah.
And apparently, like, there's skull fragments too.
I've covered wars, you know.
Yeah, that was literally it. Yeah, like, I've covered wars, and I've seen people shoot themselves in the head with guns, and it usually leads to blood splatters like this, which is kind of like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, that, come on.
That's how Haruki feels, too.
Yeah. And I'm okay with Hashimoto, I'm just saying. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
And also, Kanzo supports this idea that Chiemi probably knew how to use a gun, even though he didn't know she had a gun. He didn't know she had one.
Yeah.
And Haruki, during this, while he's thinking, Haruki thinks, so she does have a place here, thinking back on how when she was a wolf, she was like, I don't have a place here, and he was like, oh yeah, she does. So that also sort of plays into this idea that, like, becoming a wolf starts to make you sort of, it puts you in a place where, like, you're listening to all of your worst fears about everyone and, like, an unfavorable interpretation of everyone, when that's not really true.
So being a wolf is just me in 2020.
Yeah, it's just, and you have no, like, I guess, grounding of, like, no, everybody doesn't hate you because you're a murderer. Now they have the reason to hate you. And again, like, they're like, well, where, if she killed herself, like, where's the gun? And they're like, oh, the wolves must have taken it. But Haruki's like, thinking to himself, like, we didn't take it, we just left it there, so what happened to the bullets? And he was like, or the gun and the bullets. And he's like, did Shinai take them? Did it do the cleanup for them?
Yes, someone does suggest, I think it's Mamiya, that they search all the rooms.
Yeah.
And they agree to that, but they don't do anything about it later. After that, they kind of forget about it.
Yeah. Oh, also, this is where we get some more Kinosuke no Sato lore, which is that he didn't help with any of this because he's actually, like, grossed out by bodies. He's like by gore. And that's why he's a bad doctor and never helps anyone.
What he really wants to do is make toys.
Exactly.
Boy.
Then Rikako actually is the one that points out that Chiemi could have killed herself to protect everyone else, which is true. Then Yudai makes an attack in the negotiations, and he says, "Everyone raise their hand who wants the snake to investigate them tonight."
Yep. Well, okay, I want to hear what you have to say about this werewolf strategy discussion that's going on.
Yeah, Pulahoko, do you have some werewolf insight on?
Well, the way they explained it in the game and the way that it would work in, like, a werewolf type game, it makes a lot of sense. Basically, the strategy is everyone who is willing to be investigated is a fairly safe assumption to be human, but especially if it's somebody that is, because the passive players, you know, they're gonna want to be investigated anyway. If they're an active player and they're actively contributing, then they definitely should want to be investigated, no hesitation. And the trap is, you know, if you don't raise your hand, that looks suspicious, and it looks doubly suspicious if you're also somebody that contributes to the discussion.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if I was playing this game on Polahoka server and everybody said that, and somebody said this, everybody would be too smart and they would all that nobody would fall for it.
It's actually something that doesn't happen too often in our games, but usually when it happens on our games, if somebody says is a role that could potentially be one way or the other, an offer of being investigated is pretty solid.
Yeah, but this whole, like, who of the crowd wants to be investigated?
Yeah, to open it up to everyone, yeah.
Like, I feel like we would all be too smart to we would all be like, yeah, me, like, no matter what.
And I like that among them, there are some people that don't understand. There are people that play passively, and then there's also the snake themselves. So if you're not quite getting what Yudai is putting down, and a lot of, werewolf type games is about subtle signals, and this was a subtle signal. But if you're the snake and you haven't quite gotten onto that, then you could look like somebody who's suspicious when you're actually not.
This was pretty much a trap specifically for Haruaki and maybe for Yasunaga, who he thinks are smart enough to realize what's going on, but they may fall for the trap. Because anyone else, like Takumi, who is actually the snake, and he just doesn't get it, so he doesn't raise his hand because he...
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But Yudai knows that Haruaki is smart enough to not do that.
I was just going to say that, but not smart enough to realize the trap. That I just, like, apropos of nothing, I really got this vibe when you said, Pulahoko, I'd like to hear your werewolf strategy of, like, I want to see Paul Allen's card. But anyway, that's it. Sorry.
So we have the option to raise our hand or not raise our hand. If you don't raise your hand, you get caught in the trap and you get voted to be hanged.
Yeah, but it's kind of neat, though, because... a second later, he realized that, and Takumi realizes too, and so they both come out and say that to the snake at the same time.
Yeah, this is the bad ending if you choose not to raise your hand, and I love this scene because there's the internal struggle with Haruaki of he's not sure if he should raise his hand or not, and he ends up not doing it. And then it's like Yudai is kind of looking at him, like Haruaki sees Yudai looking at him, and he's like, I got you, motherfucker. I got you.
And the thing is, going up against Takumi for the snake is a bad move because Takumi's, he's a resident of the town. He knows that he's got support behind him, and he's like, "Fine, you can kill me too. I know I know I'm human, and I know this guy's a wolf, so you'll get a wolf right away." He's like, "Go ahead, kill me too. Just hang this guy first," and he has no comeback to that.
Yeah,
right. Because he kind of tried buddying up to Kanzo, but I liked how a lot of these characters are archetypes of people that we actually have on our Danganronpa table. Like, we have Kanzo, who is extremely logical, likes to lead the trials, but is not smart in the kind of social aspect of it. There's Yasunaga, who is, smart, and he does have sort of a social idea. There's, like, the old man and Meiko, who are just kind of there, and they're
Agents
always the
of
swing
chaos.
votes. Yeah, they're the chaos votes. And then there's, like, Mochi's, like, the guy that doesn't really take it seriously. Like, they could go one way or the other.
I think at this point is where Haruaki also says that this werewolf game is not really a game of logic, it's just disguised this way, but it's actually a game of politics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is why this game has convinced me that I don't actually enjoy playing this game.
You mentioned that. You said that you don't want to trick your friends.
I don't.
But it's fun to trick your friends. I mean, if it's fun to trick them if you don't actually kill them. Like, we're not asking you to actually do that.
I don't want to trick my friends. I don't derive any satisfaction from that. It just feels mean.
Nah, Divak.
It's just not. I just don't like lying. I'm like Yasunaga. I can't even, like... If I'm gonna lie, it's like by speaking around the truth. I'm like not. I just
Lies
can't just straight
omission.
up lie. Yeah.
You mean you don't enjoy, like, scheming and planning and plotting?
No.
Aww.
Not actually. I know my online presence might imply otherwise, but I actually don't.
I mean, you're not literally a devious vacuum, but
Yeah, you're an honest vacuum.
I am.
I've got that Knives Out thing where I puke every time that I lie, so it doesn't work out well.
see, that's what someone who would want to get away with things would say.
Oh God. It just starts a chain reaction.
No, wait, I got it. Raise your hand if you want to play Danganronpa with everybody.
They all raise their hands. You can't see it, but they all raised it.
I learned from the best. Now I gotta go to the bathroom in this viper pit. Anyway.
Okay, so when we raise our hands, then Yudai retaliates by trying to set Hauraki up as the one to be investigated, but then he comes back with Takumi as the suggestion instead because Takumi is more important. And
he knows he's a snake, so he just handicaps him.
Yeah. Then they start to figure out that Mako is probably the Badger, where she doesn't either she knows who the wolves are and is not siding with them, or the other way around, that she is on the wolves' side but she doesn't know who the wolves are.
No, she shouldn't know who the wolves are. Haru didn't know when she was the Badger.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't?
No, they don't know. They have to subtly reveal themselves.
They just know that the wolves are the good guys, but they don't know who the wolves are.
Yeah, because at the end she was like, oh, it really is you.
Right, and Haru was happy that Yasunaga was a wolf in that scene.
Yeah.
And it seems like the only manifestation of this is that she's being rebellious and yelling at people, but she can't process it.
Well, she's saying that everybody is bad and everyone has to hang.
Yeah.
Which in this case, the Badger is actively working against them.
Yeah, so he's a useless Badger. He's not helping.
Yeah, because also for some point she pinpoints Haruaki as the baddest one, so she's always against him.
Yeah, it could kind of work in your favor, because I don't know if everybody else is clear on the Badger role. If he can be oh, well, she hates me, so I must not be a wolf.
Well, yeah. But that's part of the problem, right? Is that people aren't really clear on it because they don't really get into it, right? It's not part of the song and all that, or...
Yeah, and I think Kanzo even says at one point, the Badger's bullshit.
It's only Gen who knew about the Badger, probably because he was a wolf previously. And that's not enough. Kanzo doesn't buy it. And so this voting, then they end up voting for the old wolf guy. And just like in the previous route, Kanzo goes to hang the old wolf guy alone. Yeah,
the old wolf guy says that he needs time, and then Kanzo immediately beats the shit out of him and grabs him away.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that in one of the loops, he went to do something, and it was so horrible and so unexpected that Kanzo remembers it every time.
I mean, he killed Mochi. But
Kanzo wasn't there for that.
Yeah.
But maybe he tried it in a loop where he did.
I think they got beef. I think they got beef from the last loop.
Yeah.
The last game.
The last instance, yeah.
Yeah, the last game.
I think he knows that he did something fucked up to survive because he's so weird. And Kanzo hates him from the beginning. in every loop, he doesn't like him. He puts up with him because he might be a human trying to survive, but he doesn't like him.
But Haruaki is suspicious that Kanzo maybe let the wolf guy live, just like last time. Since nobody saw it, it's possible that he could have just tied him up somewhere and not killed him. But to what end? Why would he not kill him? I mean, they don't have to. They would just leave him to die from the corruption overnight if he was tied up somewhere.
They wouldn't mention that if it wasn't important.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the god. Maybe he's a god.
That's why I had that thought originally. And
yeah, Haruaki says here though that he thinks about it. Maybe he has to live for some reason, but that is I know in the first loop he died in the middle. He and the Mochi died together.
Yeah,
he was definitely dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he can't die, so he can't be a god. Yeah. I guess I don't know, but what does Kanzo know? Is my big question. What does Kanzo know that is leading him to act that way? So then later that night, it's time to meet again to kill someone. And Kaori, she's still I really want to, I want to kill Yasunaga. And we have to promise that we're going to kill him tomorrow.
I love it's like she's in the back of the car and she's like, are we going to kill Yasunaga yet?
Yeah.
And Haruaki has to be no, not yet. We have to do this first. Well, okay, but remember, you said you were going to let me kill them.
It's fucking Wimpy from Popeye. I would gladly kill you Thursday for a Yashimoto today.
So we have the choice to either kill Hashimoto or Takumi, who's the snake. So we can't get rid of our rival just quite yet. If you choose him, then Takumi has investigated you, and you're the wolf, and you get executed.
And just beats the ever-loving shit out of you, puts your body in the feast, and everybody votes for you.
Welcome to Earth, right in the face, right as soon as you wake up.
And if you choose this, though, Haruaki goes to kill Yudai alone. He doesn't take Haru and Kao with him.
Oh, and here's another weird thing. So you choose this route, and he kills him, and he also just destroys his body and just doesn't think a thing about it. There's no hesitation.
So I've got thoughts about this, because in the bad end, if you try to kill, well, if you do kill Yudai, there's no context given for why you are so brutal.
You're jealous.
You just well, I mean, they don't say that, but it could be.
It's kind of creepy, though, that way, because he just goes and can, smashes his body into pieces.
It just goes on and on.
And he's like so nonchalant about it.
Like, what does he do? He chops the head off and then just sticks tools all up, and just awful.
No, that's the next one.
Oh, that's
for this one.
What does he do to Yudai?
He's just like, I hate you, and then he just cuts up his face every time while he cries and whines about it.
He just says it was really easy. He's just like, I thought it would be hard, and it was super easy, and I just kept chopping him up and destroyed him so that no one could recognize it. There's not really a description in the same way.
Yeah. And in this kind of bad ending, he just kind of does that with little context.
Yeah, and he was also methodological. He takes the camera and destroys that one too in such a way that the memory card will.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does some serial killer shit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he tries to make the cut on the camera through the memory card, but have it look diagonal. It's for all that work though, he gets caught immediately by Takumi, but still, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then when we kill Takumi, we have that sort of thing where we are brutal to the body.
Well, even before that, though, so before we do that, so we decide that it's going to happen, and then there's a pause. Haruaki's like, can I really do this? Am I going to be able to do this? And the whole time I'm thinking, why are you even pausing? You just brutally murdered someone on a loop that you did. So there's no acknowledgement that you had the wrong loop. There's no accounting for it. They assume that you're going to know to kill Takumi first, and then the revelation is, oh yeah, I could totally do it. It's super easy.
Yeah. And he cuts Takumi's head off with an axe and picks it up and shows it to Kaori and Haru, who applaud.
Yeah, and he's pissed that they're not angry, that they're not upset about it. That should just act like it's fine.
Yeah, that's the reasoning given, and I don't really understand that.
Yeah, well, later on in this reading, they say that they were just doing it. They were just going crazy, to keep up with him. So I think that he is underestimating how afraid of him they are. I think he's too detached to realize that these, this is a mom and a little girl, and they're afraid of him.
Oh, so it was just a big misunderstanding.
His reasoning later on is that he needs someone to be sane or act sane around him to keep him sane. And for him, the saneness would have been them being upset.
To give a baseline.
And the fact that they were acting normal, for him, it signifies that they were going crazy. And that means that he was getting crazier and crazier.
This also reminds me a lot of the House in Fata Morgana, the murderer there, where he's
Yukimasa.
like, I need you to be my anchor or whatever. I
liked him better though.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I did too.
Haruaki feels like a very try-hard serial killer. It's come on! I need a baseline. I need to know how to act normal because I'm so much of a killer. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I'm the Joker, baby.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yes, he is absolutely Jared Leto Joker.
So they go home and Haruaki pouts himself to sleep, but then possessed Haru comes back and knocks on his door. She shows up fully possessed and is wrapped up in bandages. And then he puts two and two together and realizes that the bandage wrapped girl that he and Chiemi saw was Haru. who was like a Yomibito and was like, oh, you gotta follow the rules. So it wasn't a vision. It was just Haru wearing a costume.
Does Haruaki have vision problems?
But it was the god possessing Haru wearing a costume.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, the god possessed Haru and made her put on a costume.
And he's like, oh, physically it's the same person. And I'm almost like, the art was definitely not the same person.
Yeah.
And he, like, in the mist behind the badger, we see glowing eyes in the darkness, and they are all dogs. They're dogs. And I think she reaches out and, like, pets one.
Yep.
Or something.
She does.
She's like,
Yeah,
these
she
are my
calls him over.
people.
She's a dog elemental.
Yeah. And that's like proof that she's the badger. You know, there's something else to her. And she says, I'm the weak god that I mentioned before. I'm the real badger. She doesn't like being called the badger. She's like, badger is like an insult to be called a badger or something. It's like a derogatory name.
Well, you're badgering me. Yeah, they say that.
This is my favorite part. The badger suggests that Haruaki's foundation as like a person is a man who is frustrated when outdone by others. And then she's like, oh, I see. You cannot differentiate between fear and excitement.
So I guess he is a true gamer.
He responds by calling her cute.
Yeah, that was weird though, right? Because he's like, you're a cute god. Like,
weird.
Are you really doing this,
Yeah,
Haruaki?
it's
Really?
He's losing it.
You just chopped a dude's head off.
He's absolutely losing it.
I mean, he's seen, yeah. I think, it's just like how like when he lost it, I think is the only point of contention, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
He started this game a lot different than he is now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I keep going back and forth on, you know? Because I feel like you do get these like little hints at it, even in other loops, but, you know.
Yeah. All right.
Did we talk about that earlier in the recording or before we started recording? Whatever, doesn't matter.
We've talked about it in previous episodes too, that like the looping is desensitizing him to his humanity and the humanity of others.
Well, there's also a point in this, loop where he wonders what choice he should make, like to beat Yudai, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter. If I make the wrong choice, I can just go back and loop until I make the right choice.
Yeah, I can just die over and over again. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll get to that because that's a key moment with the two of them that are in one body.
Yeah. So next day, when everybody goes to investigate the crime scene, they go to Takami's house, and Haruaki understands why in the other route there was water on the floor, because the wolves' costumes are wet because they're pouring water on themselves. And let's see, Rikako takes Haruaki aside and says that she wants to talk to him about Mako, and she suspects that Mako is the badger. And Haruaki has already kind of figured this out. So like maybe she knows who the wolves are, and he's like, well, no. It just, it's clearly she's being forced to accuse humans, and she keeps being mad at me, so that proves that I'm definitely a human, because she keeps accusing me for being mad at me in particular. So, then, when he gets back to the dining hall, Kaori takes a big risk and passes a message to him in a pot that she talked privately to Yasunaga and says Takami didn't tell him that he was the snake. So they're worried about if Takami had told Yasunaga that he was a snake yesterday in their private conversation, and then Takami died, then Yasunaga it might give him information about like who the wolf, or he might say it.
Yeah, because Haruaki's plan is to assume the role of the snake, to tell everyone that he's a snake.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a good plan for a wolf, if you know that the snake is actually dead.
It's a real good plan if you go.
Yeah.
It's something you couldn't do in a real game because you wouldn't know you killed the snake that early.
Then during the feast, it starts to like it's like builds you up like, oh, does Yasunaga know? Like, was Kaori wrong? Like, what's gonna happen? And then Yoshitsugu interrupts and is like, the old wolf guy wasn't a wolf. I checked. So he's the crow. And not only is he the crow, he says, I'm a crow, and he takes out a knife and stabs it into the ground and says, I'll kill anyone who counterclaims me. And no one does. Being the crow isn't really that much of a gift other than, identifying yourself as not a wolf.
Right.
So Hauraki claims to be the snake, and Yasunaga doesn't say anything back, so they did it. And he claims that he investigated Yasunaga the first night, and he was human, which is another safe thing. But he can't claim that everyone's human forever. Eventually, he's gotta find a wolf. So then Yudai starts he says that he thinks Mako is the badger as well. And he mainly does this to point out that they shouldn't kill her, that she's not acting like this because she's a wolf. She's acting like this probably because she's the badger, which means she's human. So we can just ignore her.
Mako says something interesting at this point. When the accuser of being the badger, she said she's not the badger, she's a goat.
Yeah, and
is that a thing, though?
The greatest of all time.
I'm wondering if that's going to be a thing, and if it's just her being a child.
She said she's a sheep many times. It's... What is her deal?
Does she? She doesn't really say she's a sheep. That's the only time she actually says she's something.
She says bah.
Yeah, she says bah.
Yeah, she says she makes sheep noises all the time.
Well, she's got sheep-like qualities.
Yeah.
She exhibits sheep-like. She's always following people, not even things of her own.
Growing too much hair, so you have to shear it off.
Goats go bah too, right? Or do goats make another sound?
No, they go.
Well, goats kind of just scream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, what I would if you had a comic or something where a goat was going bah, like BAA, I guess I would be okay with it, but I'd expect some hyphens there or something to give it that kind of quality.
I'm imagining a goat screaming a human scream, which is very funny to me. Okay.
Those fucking rectangle eyes. It's haunting.
Terrifying.
I hate those things. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, so Yasunaga then asks Hauraki to investigate Haru as the next person he investigates. And Kanzo is like, absolutely not. Investigate me instead. And Yasunaga's like, you just want to show your own importance more than protect your granddaughter. And they get into a fight. A physical altercation. And Yoshitsugu steps in to protect his brother, and he gets hit.
Mm-hmm. And Kanzo immediately gets a knife and turns it on them like, you sons of bitches. Yeah. And then he right away knows he fucked up.
Yeah, and he says, I fucked up, you should hang me. I don't deserve to be here. And even Yudai can't get a word in edgewise. They've totally lost the plot here.
Because Yudai's like, wait. We should think this out and do this according to rule. And they're like, nah, sorry, pal. This is how it's got to be.
Well, their response is shut up, you're an outsider. You don't get what's going on here.
Yeah, it's way more example of the politics of the situation. You're not going to come in, someone who hasn't lived here and lived with us and been preparing for this your entire life, and just tell us what's gone down when we have 8 layers of subtext that just happened in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
So, as this is happening, Hauraki finally rests on his laurels and is like, we're going to win. And Chiemi's voice comes back in his mind.
He does. He gets real smug about it too. When Yoshi reveals he's a crow, he's got these little pissy internal monologues. It's like, oh, you revealed it already, huh? Well, if I were playing the crow, I would have done it, and closer to the late game. But I guess that's just how you play crow. It's fine.
Yeah. Haraki's Retsu praying this game of
oh boy,
werewolf. So they do hang Kanzo, and as they're leading Kanzo down to be hung, Haraki's like, does Shinai even know what he wants out of this? Who can say? So
and also Yudai looks at us, which is enough to piss us off and make us anxious.
Yeah, utterly useless feast, which is good for the wolves. So that night, Kaori says again,
Later
you promised we could kill my son, Yasunaga. And, like, they're, like, getting excited about it. They're like, ooh, we're gonna kill Yasunaga. Can't wait.
Well, you had a choice if you want to kill Yasunaga or Yoshitsugu.
Mm-hmm. Well, right before that, this is when we were talking about earlier, like, that he chastises them for not feeling guilty. And they're like, I learned it from watching you. And, they, And so basically everybody feels that way toward each other, that they felt like I needed someone to react, to be like a guide, and nobody reacted because everybody was waiting for somebody else to do it. So yes, we choose which brother.
That's right.
So yeah, if you choose, so I guess the top choice, which is always wrong, is Yoshitsugu, and if you choose that, the other two are going to kill him. So like they actually, since you took on Takumi the night before, they kill Yoshitsugu, and so you go to sleep, and the next morning you wake up and Kaori snaps. She goes and she kills Yasunaga, and basically it happens relatively fast, but because this happens, it throws off Haruaki, and in his arguments to say like, oh, I don't know why she would have done that. I wasn't here for it. I'm not, whatever. Points out that Yoshitsugu was
the state of the body. Yeah, maybe the state of the body threw her off or whatever, or set her off, and that just it at that point Hashimoto's just basically carrying out your execution. Like, he knows right away as soon as you say the wrong thing very early on that's going to happen, and so you get executed. Or Haruaki gets executed. Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So either, like, in both choices, it starts out with, like, Haruaki, like, when he asked Kaori specifically to kill Yoshitsugu, and, like, he asked the others to kill Yasunaga, like, he starts feeling like he wants to make everyone suffer. And there's a lot of, like, repetition of, like, the suffering, like, the word suffer and the suffering theme, which lines up with, like, this idea that, like, is the Great Lord Shinai's purpose just to make everyone suffer? Is that the point of this ritual? Is this just is the mountain god just torturing everyone? And is is playing both sides? And so they're about to do this again, but then they try to open Yasunaga's door and it won't open. And so far they've been able to open the first door that they touch, and only the first door that they touch. And Yasunaga's door won't open. He was protected by the spider. So that's what it looks like if someone's protected by the spider. Their door just doesn't open. There's not like a cool spider thing outside.
Right. I thought it would just be like you go to kill a spider and suddenly you wake up.
Yeah, they try other doors too, but once they touch the first one, the other one don't open either.
Yeah. Don't they experiment with that earlier too, where it's like...
They do.
Because
he doesn't realize... It opens when he goes to Takumi's. And as soon as he does, he's like, oh, I should have checked beforehand. And he goes around and he notices he can't open any other door before he actually goes in.
So it's more like it's a literal spider on the other side of the door holding the deadbolt down.
Yeah, just like a life-size spider, though. Just like like one really small...
Just like a regular tiny spider.
Very strong.
It's a horse-sized spider over there being like, nope.
So then Haruaki thinks to himself, well, shit, that's no good. Maybe I'll just die so I can restart. And then the badger, who apparently can read his mind, that seems to be, the badger can read his thoughts. She's like, wow, you really are insane. You're really losing it.
Because he goes off with Haru and he's like, he talks to her first. And is like, am I insane? And she's like, maybe. I don't really know you, but you seem like you might be insane. And then he goes, God, am I insane? And she's like, yeah, I mean, do you remember the reset part that happened 5 minutes ago? It's pretty insane.
So, Haru, he goes and talks to Haru again, and she says that she was upset by the murders, like that she was, but she forced herself to act like the right way. And Haruaki suggests that the two of them become as villainous as possible, that they become villains, and he's like talking about like what's like a movie that you like, and Haru essentially says that she likes Star Wars. She likes Star Wars, and her favorite character is C-3PO. This is not very evil.
I feel like too they were like worried about copyright like too much even, or you know what I mean, like where they were just like, you know, that movie, it's about space with the Force. Oh, I know that one. My favorite character is the golden character, and it's like, you can say it, I'm sure it's fine, you know, but whatever.
Or just make it legally distinct, like D3PR.
Yeah, rearrange the letters so that it's like a you know, because there's so much rearranging kanji in this.
3COP?
Yeah.
You down with 3COP?
Exactly.
You know me.
And he basically says like if they're evil, then they can like kind of like they don't follow the same rules as everybody else because they're villains, they're evil, like they do whatever they want. And finally she allows herself to like break down and cry about Kanzo, the fact that Kanzo died. And the last thing I wrote in my notes is, I don't know, man, I think you're going crazy.
And the god kind of comes back at the end. The Badger god comes back and she's laughing at him. And there's a revelation that he gets in the middle of this conversation when he realizes that he should tell her, okay, we're just gonna be evil. You know, there's no the moral the moral ambiguity and the sort of pulling this dilemma in the heart of what we're doing, that being a wolf is okay, but we're killing people, which is not okay. That goes away if you just choose to be the villain of the story. That we're just evil. There's no value judgment of our actions. We're just evil people. And he has this revelation in the middle there, and the Badger God observes that and laughs at him, and it's kind of implied that he's figured something out about the whole situation, and that she recognizes that he's figured it out, and she's attracted to this somehow. There's a flirtation both from Haruaki and Haru, and also Haruaki and the 1,000-year-old god.
Yeah.
Who now seems to be becoming more attracted to him the more he figures out.
Because he's evil.
The eviler and unpredictable he gets.
Yeah, and she's also evil, I guess. She is also an evil god.
Yeah.
Or thirsty.
Yeah, she was kind of like nobody, you know, she was like abandoned, right? Like nobody knows who she is. So like, you know, one man gives her a little bit of attention. I mean, her and Haru have a lot in common.
Yeah.
One man gives him some attention, and all of a sudden they love him.
Well, she has an inferiority complex, the god, I mean, right? Isn't she like worthless god? Also, you know, there you go. Boom. Is this also in this reading? Because I read a little ahead, but doesn't he offer the god something?
Well, he kind of says he can do something for her, that he can provide some kind of service, that he can get her back to the place where she was before. And she's like, "You gonna slaughter the nearest 3 villages?" He's like, "You're a human. You can't do anything for me. You can't provide any." I may be powerless because I have no worshippers, but that doesn't mean I have no power.
I like this a lot, actually. I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, but it's like, I kind of enjoy that, like, Haraki's like, maybe I can help you out. It's like, you are not going to fucking help a god. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that low that a fucking mortal's gonna help me. Like, let's know your fucking role.
I wonder if he's also sort of testing the waters about whether this is real or not. Like, because I feel like at the beginning of this, he felt like this was like Haru's split personality. But now, as things have progressed, there's more and more evidence that it's supernatural.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say so I only read up to this 516 title card on this route, so I have no other knowledge of what else happens here. My thought when we got to this point is that maybe he isn't human.
Haruaki?
And part of that, Haruaki's not human, and part of that was fueled by the idea of him taking this idea that he only takes from the people around him, that he is defined by them. If they are crazy, he's crazy. If they aren't, then he isn't. He can be normalized by them. And then sort of this idea that like he can choose to just be capricious and evil, and that allows him the access to greater powers and to sort of like be able to like play this role without repercussions. And I'm starting to wonder, like, what does the loop mean? Like, clearly he can be killed, but he just starts over again every time. Does that mean that somehow he is part of this deity cycle? And that's what the conflict is? He's getting sucked in very similar ways to the way the Badger is. She may not understand what his role is here, but she's starting to figure out that maybe he's got some power too.
And he's the third god, the one that's his enemy. Or
like, who is who? You know, she may not know who everybody is in this. Maybe there's a fourth god. Maybe there's, maybe he's Shinai and no one's picking up on it. And what they're getting, the enemy is the one telling them things, who's trapping him here. She's trapped. Maybe he's too.
Okay. the god that's stuck in Haru's body, right? This is her dating sim, and she's the one who's looping over and over again until she can finally date Haruaki, who's also a god who's looping, and he's like, God damn it, the only person here I can date that I'm forced to by time is a 16-year-old girl, and he's angry about it, hence raging loop. You're welcome.
And the badger is the player playing as Haru, just as we are the player playing as Haruaki.
Right. Yeah, it's why it's a shame they didn't go with their original title, Dream Goddy.
Oh my god.
That's why their names are Haru and Haruaki, because there's a character select where you choose, like, do you want to be male or female? Yep. And like that's
Oh my god.
You choose Haru or Haruaki, and some asshole's always like, I'll just be Tom.
So at this point, I was after all of the interactions with the badger and like how clearly something supernatural is going on. Like I was like, okay, this is a supernatural phenomenon. Like there is some supernatural element going on in this game. It is not. We are not being, we are not being 999'd. We are. This is a real thing that's happening. There's a real supernatural thing that's going on.
Yes.
It would be really tough to 999 this.
So what is Shinai's? And I feel like Shinai at this point or Shinai and Okami is the same thing. This two-faced god that is running this to torture everyone for some reason. And but then how do you fight back against something like that?
You make it so you enjoy it.
Clearly, that's the strategy this time. Maybe I can end the loop if I win as the wolf by killing everyone. Just completely losing my humanity.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the war games thing. The only way to win the game is not to play.
I still think that the god may maybe not be trying to make everybody suffer, but is just doing it because they find it entertaining. And if they don't find it entertaining, then they don't want to do it anymore.
So Danganronpa V3.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. I still think that they should do like Jim said, the only winning move is not to play. Like last episode, I was like, what if they set it up so that it was a trust exercise. They all outed their roles, and then they were like, okay, the wolves will only attack the person that the spider protects every night, and then we'll just be at a stalemate until Shinai comes down and says, what's going on here?
They kind of touch on that in this game, not directly, or in this loop, but the idea that Hashimoto presents that the wolves might not want to attack. And if we hang somebody on the first trial, then that's going to give them incentive to attack.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out what happens at the next feast next time on Raging Loop.
Yeah. I guess we should read to the end of this route, even though it's going to be a little longer than usual. But
I have a feeling that won't be a problem.
I don't think there's enough material until the end of the route for 2 episodes. So it's just going to be 1 episode, but the reading is going to be like 50% longer than usual.
I think that's okay in this case because most of us have just started reading ahead because we like it. So
yeah. So until you get to credits, basically.
So yeah, here's an idea. We may not be able to. That may lead to a really long podcast. So the idea will be, the next one that we record, everyone will have finished the reading, but we may not get it all done in one. So it may take 2 episodes to finish all our thoughts on it. But yes, the expectation for anybody playing along is that we will finish the game for next episode.
The route, not the game.
The route, sorry. Yeah, not the game. Right.
So you'll see credits.
Yes.
And watch that hint sheep. Gotta watch that hint sheep after you die at the end.
You gotta watch every hint sheep.
I don't like hint sheep.
Come on, how can you not like hint sheep?
It's the same thing every time. Like, hey, you sure fucked up. Why don't you pick the other option? Die another death. Oh, you didn't go to the chart right away. Now you gotta watch the whole thing again. Haha.
It was only a dream.
I know. And I'm like, shit. No, chart.
Are you jealous of the hint sheep?
What is there to be jealous of?
Well, he's cool.
He's terrible. He's not cool. He's an awful tutorial guy.
He's got a cigarette. That's how you can tell.
He's like he's like the second best dream sheep in games, which is not a good title to have.
Yeah, I mean.
All right, so Next time, if you're reading along with us at home, get the fuck ready.
Buckle the fuck up.
Yeah. Strap in.
Yeah, and so people who didn't finish the game yet, you're going to the end of the route and you're going to want to keep reading. So try to, let's at least have one of us who's like only up with the readings.
This was the point where I had to keep reading.
Yeah, the end of this route is the point where most people will just want to know what's coming up next. So you just keep going.
So we'll see you all in the next one. Until then, awoo.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Oof, wow, that was, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. I think you're a human.
Oh.
All right, I'm sorry I said anything.